You've seen pictures that were shot under extreme conditions. Shots where the camera has to be prepared beforehand, adapted and rigged for specific photographic assignments. To record these dramatic scenes, remote aerials, underwater views, shots that were taken in, say, low-pressure areas or high temperatures, shots that might wreck the camera and ruin the shot, you need specialized photographic equipment, extremely specialized photographic equipment. Sometimes it's not even a photographer who presses the button to take the picture. Sometimes a robot has to take the picture because the conditions are so extreme that it precludes the presence of a photographer. Well, in that case, you can really consider that extremely specialized photographic equipment. The National Geographic is a magazine that's known worldwide because of its spectacular imagery. The photographic excellence that we've come to expect from the Geographic is often because of a collaboration between the photographers and the special equipment staff. A staff that oftentimes modifies or creates cameras that can get the shot, no matter how impossible the assignment first seems.
By and large, each photographer has his own set of problems, and he comes in with his ideas, and he will get together with either the camera repair department, if it applies to that, if it's a problem with cameras or improvising with lenses, equipment, motors, or he will get together with our electronic shop.
Some of the technical solutions to the problems of geographic photographers are every bit as incredible as the pictures they produce. This remote pilot vehicle, being tested in a special tank in Cape Cod, contains a whole gadget bag of equipment: strobes, lights, lenses, motor drives, and cameras. The RPV, as it's called, was the photographic answer for the National Geographic's Emery Christoph.
How have you gotten around the expense and the difficulty of deep water diving to get the fascinating, outstanding work that you've done?
One of the things that I've done is just gotten myself involved with this new class of underwater robot that has been showing up in the oil fields in the last few years. This is kind of the ultimate video game, that you really have something real at the end of your joystick instead of just some electrons chasing each other kind of mindlessly across a TV screen. Notice here that the robot can keep the cameras facing that leg of that oil rig. This robot has got 5 thrusters, is actually more agile than a human diver, is close to the size of a human diver, and with those thrusters is more powerful. Looking here at a television camera and a still camera that are on a tilt mechanism so that they can look up and down independent of the submersible. And then there are a total of 6 lights that can be turned off and on the vehicle. You're looking at 4 of them on the upper body of the robot. There's a strobe down there lower, stuck right in between the thrusters. To a great extent, underwater photography is a technical exercise. You have to be proficient in the art of scuba diving. You should be pretty proficient in the art of photography on the surface, because it gets a lot more clumsy when you go underwater. It's kind of like knitting with a pair of boxing gloves on.
Have you ever discovered something through robotic photography that you had no idea was going to be there?
Well, I'd like to say that usually when the decision is made to put the kind of resources into a project that required the robot, that's you've got your homework pretty well done. I don't know of anybody that has done any kind of a diving project that is anywhere close to the Bredalbin project. The Bredalbin is one of the ships that was engaged in the search for the Franklin expedition, which is one of the lost stories of the last century. When Sir John Franklin and his crew were lost in the 1840s while searching for the Northwest Passage, it resulted in the largest search at sea that was ever conducted by man. The search went on for over 12 years, and there was over 20,000 men and over 100 ships involved in it. And we are building a camp on the ice that will support a diving robot and a manned submersible called the Wasp that you wear, kind of like a large suit. We're doing drilling here because we need to get through the ice, which is 6 to 7 feet thick. And then we are going to dynamite and blow the ice to put in the dive holes. This was a very interesting ship project to work on. First, we had to find it in an area where there's only about 3 weeks out of the year that the water is clear enough that you can side scan without being hampered by the ice. I'm really thankful it's the robot going down there, not me. The man diver here, this is Phil Newton, president of CanDive, getting inside the Wasp. I have flown the Wasp, and it's a very, very cramped vehicle. As you can see here, as they kind of grease fill up to get him down in it. The body of the vehicle is aluminum, and inside of 2 hours, the operator down underwater is really hurting. In fact, every time we brought the guys up, their underwear that they've got on it, long underwear, has usually frozen itself to the sides of the submersible. This is kind of the alternative to being able to use the robots in a situation, a diving situation like this. It requires just a lot more support. The dives are a lot shorter, and there really is a high element of risk in an Arctic situation like this.
Right turn. The next time, somebody left turn on the inner perimeter, stand by.
There have not been very many ice dives made, and I think this is about the deepest ice dive that's been made in the Arctic with a manned unit. And you see that we're getting some very nice animal life down there, too. We did some recovery of artifacts using the mechanical arm on the robot to go in and pick up, like the ship's block, haul it back into the cage to take it back to the surface. These are the ship's instruments. You're looking at one of the ship's 2 compasses, and in the middle there is a lantern for navigation at night. Again, having a 3mm lens gives you unlimited depth of field, which is very, very useful, that you don't have to worry about trying to focus your picture all the time while you're trying to fly the vehicle. Well, Mike, this is the equipment area of the building. We do a lot of camera modifications here, which is very important to what I'm doing. We have equipment ready to be checked out. Like, here's some underwater gear that's ready to go. Now, we do a lot of special case building down in the machine shop.
Important for underwater work.
Oh, yeah. I mean, without that, the electronics goes blub blub. This camera housing has been built to go down in deep water off of Bermuda next month. Al Chandler is a master machinist, and he does all of this work from scratch.
Al, how deep is this housing designed to go?
Well, we're looking in 4,000-foot range to add some safety factor to its deployment and around manned vehicles or people as well.
Do you have to pretty much pay attention to pressure when you're designing these housing units?
Yeah, certainly. Here's an example. This was a conventional ladies' wig form. That was subjected to about 5,000 pounds per square inch.
And this thing before the testing was as big as a human head?
Like the normal wig form.
Okay. Now, we've looked at the housing. It certainly is very special, but the camera also has to be very well designed.
Yes, Mike. This particular camera is built by Benthos Corporation, and this one's one with the extended magazine capacity. As you can see, it's a very neat, easy way to handle things at sea.
How many shots are in that magazine?
400.
You can't go down there and change a film, can you?
No, the old 36 exposure cassette is not of any value when you deploy something in deep ocean, at any rate.
What kind of lens are we talking about here?
Okay, on this one, we have put a 55 macro. Normally, this comes with a 28. We have opted here for the macro because we want to do close-up work. We've also converted these cameras to 60mm wider angle lenses.
I guess one thing that you technical people have to worry about is the seal that occurs between the housing and the camera.
That's very true. If you do not have a proper seal between the end cap and the case, you certainly have some wet equipment. So pressure testing is in order, and you need to make sure that things are orderly and clean as well in the process.
So what, in your testing, you drop it down to the proper depth and bring it back up and just see if there's any water in it. Is that the way it works?
No, these go through a pressure test cycle in a legitimate pressure tank with a traceable certificate. If they're around people or around manned vehicles, we need this proof. Normally it is 1 1/2 times the operational or the intended operational depth of the vehicle, manned or unmanned.
The Hamilton and the Scourge, two ships that sank in 1813 in Lake Ontario. It's a location that was just 8 miles from the U.S. border where the ships went down. They were sunk in the middle of the night by a very violent thunderstorm, and the American armada or squadron was in place to do battle with the English the next day. Here's our robot. This is the R2-D2 of the deep. Little fella there ought to go on a diet. It's about 450 pounds, and with all the accessories to make it operate in the water, it's about 3 tons worth of gear. You can see here as the cage goes down, we mount cameras on the top of the cage that give us a view of what the robot looks like when it's out working in the site. You see there's also strobe lights operating from the cage. And while the robot is inside the cage, you can actually position with its motors, turn and position the whole cage any way we wish to. And there's how I do my diving. I look at about 3 television monitors with a button in my hand, and I'm giving the diving instructions to Chris Nicholson, the designer of the vehicle, who is the pilot at this particular time. And now you're going along the Scourge's decks, and see the cannons are just the way they were pretty much the night the ships went down. These are the only ships that I have ever seen that really look the way, say, a 10-year-old would imagine a sunken ship to look like, with the cannons in place and the cutlasses there right on the rail just ready to repel boarders, and these axes back there. And right here, this is the figurehead on the Scourge, and we're driving the robot up using the television camera to align the still camera. And occasionally you will see kind of a flash and a glitch in the picture, and that's when I'm making a photograph. Right there was a photograph being made. And so the television camera is matched very carefully to the view that I would see on the 35mm camera. I'm using very, very wide-angle lenses to make these pictures. There's a 3mm lens on the TV camera and a 16mm Olympus wide-angle fisheye on the still camera. Give you an idea of how nice and close you can get with a 3mm lens. That cat's head there is only like about 4 inches on a side. You're looking at larger than life. And this really has been kind of the symbol of the Hamilton Scourge. It's the figure Diana on the Hamilton. Just a lovely thing to see come out of that cold, dark water. The Hamilton has a great big bronze gun. It was mounted on a swivel, kind of a turntable, up forward. Here's what we refer to as a nautical junk pile. There you see the cutlasses and the grape shot and the cannonballs and the sweeps. And actually the men from the ships are down there also. We came across 6 piles of bones on the outside of the ships, and most of the men were lost down below decks. There were 53 American lives, I think they figured, lost when these 2 ships went down.
The very nature of photography demands a marriage between art and technology. What the artist, in this case the photographer, can conceive, the technology must be able to support. For many of us, that equation is as simple as having the right lenses and accessories packed in our camera bag. But for others, like Emery Christoph of the National Geographic, the conception of a photograph is just the first step in a complicated, sometimes frustrating, but usually rewarding process of technical innovation. Many of the images we see in the Geographic are a result of the collaboration between the people that work on the cameras, the members of the technical staff, and the people that work with the cameras, the members of the National Geographic photographic staff. With a winning combination like that, the National Geographic will continue to amaze us each month with constant examples of what the art of photography is all about.